Good morning. The July 8th Board of Education meeting is now in session. Please rise for the invocation. O God, we pray to administer that which is just in all educational policies, being ever mindful of your guidance, stir us to action with love, wisdom, and understanding. The pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2.03, approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? All those in favor? Motion passes 9-0-0. I haven't been able to say 9 for a while. Welcome, Jake. Oh, Debbie's not at her seat. 8-0-0. Later. Item. Okay. Would you like to raise your hand so I can say 9-0-0? All right. And before I move on, welcome to Jacob. We got to attend his swearing in on July 1st, so we are now a full board again. Very exciting. Item 2.04, establish agenda order. The order stands as published. Item 2.05, recognitions. We don't have any recognitions today. So that brings us to 2.06, school and community highlights. Mrs. Nally.
Well, I wanted to bring to your attention an event that I attended on June 27th, Saturday. It was the first biennial breakfast celebration fundraiser honoring living legends and distinguished educators from the Wiley H. Bates Legacy Center Board of Directors. And it was a truly amazing morning that I spent with over 250 attendees. And at the risk of taking a little bit too much time, I want to say that the living legends were miraculous. They were just wonderful, and I want to name them: Robert Brooks, Hannah Chambers, Betty Lee Covert, Nancy Gist, Laura Haskins, Burma Hill, Dr. Ann Hudson Jenkins, Clementine Johnson, Donald Kess, Doris Knight, John Makel, Joyce McManus, Gwendolyn Pindell, Dr. Thelma Sparks, Bernice Tillett, Shirley Toy, Ann Ventus, and Laura Webb. Many of them were there being honored as legacies and educators. And I will tell you, it was just a wonderful morning. Rose Tasker spoke, who was one of our former principals. There were 4 different students who came forward and gave eloquent speeches about the impact that their educator, their teachers had on their lives and on their successes. It was just a wonderful, wonderful time. And I want to thank Dr. Boyd and her team who planned this event. And like I said, it's going to be biennial, and I will look forward to attending it in the times to come. If you're not aware, and I want to read this one more blurb, the Wiley H. Bates Legacy Center and Memorial Courtyard is the centerpiece of the $2.7 million Bates Heritage Park, which opened in a public celebration September 2006. The Legacy Center is dedicated to preserving and presenting the history of Wiley H. Bates School, formerly 1933 to 1966, the only high school for African Americans in Anne Arundel County. It is a unique cultural arts heritage center displaying historical documents and collections that preserve the African American experience. They also honored, and I won't read them all, but honored distinguished educators, African American educators, and there were maybe some 20 of those honored. So it was quite a celebration, and I really enjoyed sitting at the table with Rose Tasker, with whom I had worked at Van Bachlen, and with the current principal at Van Bachlen, Celicia Hardy, and it was just a wonderful day. Thank you.
The only other thing I have is Dr. Arlotto and I were invited and able to attend iftar last night with the Muslim community of Annapolis out in Gambrels, and it was just a wonderful celebration evening with them, and we were really grateful for their hospitality. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Anyone wishing to speak on an item not on today's agenda may offer testimony during this public comment portion of the meeting. Speakers will be allotted 3 minutes each. The board asks that comments remain civil and appropriate for the various audiences that may be watching or viewing the meeting. Student-specific and personnel matters are confidential and cannot be discussed in this forum. This time is intended for speakers to voice their opinion, not necessarily as a question and answer period. Speakers may pose questions, but answers will be counted toward the 3-minute allotment. For the record, please give your name before speaking, and handouts should be given to the board assistant. I have 5 cards that have been filled out for this portion of the public comment. Jacqueline Alsop, Bill Jones, Richard Downs, Alina Downs Perez, and Lisa Rodvici, or Roger.
Good morning, board members and Dr. Olato. I'm Jacqueline Alsop, First Vice President for the Anne Arundel County chapter of the NAACP. On behalf of our new president, Stephen Tillett, and the members of the branch, I bring you greetings and thank you for the opportunity to speak in the public agenda this morning. I've come today to welcome the newly appointed board members, Mr. Thomas Frank, Ms. Julie Hummer, Ms. Allison Pickard. According to each of your applications to the School Board Nominating Commission, you all have stated that you believe closing the achievement gap in our public school system's biggest concern. For this, we are grateful and we applaud your veracity in recognizing what we have known for a very long time. We thank you for your courage in bringing this issue back to the board and hope you remain steadfast in your convictions and promises to ensure that this issue remains front and center in the affairs of the board. We also welcome student board member Jacob Horskamp. Jacob, we hope you will continue to bring the diversity of the students' input into the board discussions and exercise your vote on their behalf. We are truly glad to see this new composition of the board members. We pray that you will bring fresh eyes and perspectives, new ideas and bold approaches for change. It is you who can represent the hope of so many of our children who are not succeeding in this district of plenty, in this county of plenty, in this state of plenty, and in this country of plenty. The NAACP has been a strong advocate and certainly one of the most outspoken on the achievement gap, discipline disparities, and community engagement. In a time of great racial challenges in our nation and indeed in our communities, we remind you that while all students matter, not all students need the same things to succeed. Not all students have the same resources, privileges, opportunities, and support. It is imperative that you are well informed. It is critical that you speak to and learn about the unique needs of students who may need more different resources to attain their goals, and that you ask the right questions, that you incorporate community's views and in making your decisions, and that you are accountable for your actions on the board. As a reminder, in 2005, the Board of Education signed onto the U.S. Department of Justice mediated agreement with the Office of Superintendent and the NAACP and other complaints on behalf of African American students and parents to monitor Anne Arundel County Public Schools' efforts to eliminate disparate treatment and educational outcomes. However, our engagement with Anne Arundel County Public Schools did not just begin with the Office of Civil Rights Memorandum of Agreement. We intend to continue our commitment to our children by working with you and expect not to be shut out of the process. We expect you to listen to our voice and to share your voice. In conclusion, members of the Board of Education and Dr. Olato, we genuinely need each other if we expect to meet the educational needs of all of our children and to make our school system great for all, not just some. Let's agree to have the grace to truly love all of our children and do what it takes to help them all to succeed without no exceptions. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Morning, President Korbelak, Ms. Nally, members of the board, both old and new. My name is Bill Jones. I'm the Executive Director of the Teachers Association of Anne Arundel County. I'm here to revisit an item that you heard much from my local president, Richard Benfer, about, and it had to do with the change in the calendar at the semester change of next school year. The semester change for decades had 2 non-student days in it. In elementary school and middle schools, we're shared 50-50, professional development time and self-directed teacher work time. That's been reduced to 1, and it was the professional development portion that was eliminated from the calendar, leaving elementary school teachers with 1 day of teacher work time, which is all they had in past years. High school teachers, though, for decades have had 2 full days of work time, and that was out of recognition for the workload that high school teachers have at semester break that elementary and middle school teachers do not, because they teach semesterized courses. That means opening up a second semester is not too dissimilar from opening up a new school year. President Benfer did a survey of our high school members, and they're in a big yellow envelope in front of you. I brought a copy with me. I'm going to let the data speak for itself. I don't want to tie up meeting time going over something you look at pretty quickly. And there are plenty of comments and answers to open-ended questions. I'll leave that for you to review at your convenience as well. But instead of uttering any more comments of my own, I'm going to satisfy my purpose here by reading one answer to one open-ended question. And the open-ended question was to the high school teacher who responded, and I don't know who it is. It was anonymously done. But the open-ended question was, do you need 2 days to close up semester 1 and prepare for semester 2? And the answer was the following. 2 days are essential. Here's a short list of things we must accomplish in those 2 days. 1, midterms graded, grades turns in for the semester with the grade verifications done. Then start over. The second semester is almost like starting the year over. New seating charts, new book assignments, new book collections, groups created, clicker assignments and classes typed into the program, cognitive tutor for Algebra 1 teachers, 504 and special ed information collected, teacher discussions on students who have switched teachers to minimize the relearning of students, grade books to set back up, team meetings to create, second semester syllabi, copying of materials, continuation of lesson plans. The new semester is like a new year. And then the respondent in all caps followed by exclamation points, 1 day is not enough. The only thing we don't do is unpack. Otherwise, the workload is the same as beginning of the new year. And we got 2 days then, why not now? Talk about unfair teacher workload. There are similar comments throughout the packet that you have before you. And we are asking you to reconsider the change, at least for the high school teachers. They need that second day to get done what needs to be done. Thank you.
Mr. Downs.
Is this live? Can you hear me? Or do I have to? Okay. Thank you. My name is Richard Downs, and I'm a resident of Lothian, Maryland. I'm here supporting my daughter to comment about the AACPS magnet lottery process, specifically relating to the 2 magnet STEM high schools. An FAQ document on the AACPS Advanced Studies site answers the question, why does the magnet office use a lottery? As the magnet office believes that a randomized lottery is the only fair way to give all eligible students an equal chance at receiving a seat in the program. The document emphasizes the word all, but I emphasize the word equal. While some, including my daughter, may argue with the fairness of a randomized lottery, to be fair, any admissions process must also balance as best it can the number of students that feed into each magnet school. Of the county's 19 middle schools, 11 feed into North County STEM and 8 into South River STEM. Based on this year's school enrollment data, that's just over 2,900 students in the North County area and just over 2,400 in the South River area. However, when you match the most recent available MSA testing results to these schools, it paints a different picture. For this year's lottery participants, based on their 7th grade MSA test results, 8 of the 9 top performing AACPS middle schools feed into South River STEM. Of the middle schools feeding into South River, 25.1% of the students scored advanced and 78.4% scored advanced or proficient in math. Conversely, of the middle schools feeding into North County, 7.7% of the students scored advanced and 52.6% scored advanced or proficient. This means that while on the surface about 500 more students are in the pool for North County STEM, when you factor in MSA scores with enrollment of those schools, there are approximately 350 more students that scored advanced or proficient on the math MSA at the schools which feed into South River. Looking at the final high school wait list for the past 4 years, South River STEM has an average final wait list size of 70 with a low of 51. North County STEM has an average final wait list size of 24 and has only ended up above 20 once. Beyond the STEM high school wait list, there is a disparity in the way that the two schools' lists move. As I read the periodic releases of lottery results, I noticed that while the overall rate of students moving off the list is almost identical, the pattern is different. And just to summarize this one quickly, looking at the last student to get into each school, for North County, currently, those students sitting in seat 100 started off the wait list in position 70. While in South River, they started off in position 36. That basically means that for your based on where you started on the initial wait list of all the pool of applicants, your chances of receiving a seat offer for North County were 88%. Your chances of receiving a seat offer for South River were only just over 50%. Just to wrap this up if I can very quickly. The combination of South River STEMs having a higher application rate and a lower decline rate than North County hits home with me. My daughter applied to South River STEM and started the process in the mid-50s on their wait list. If we lived in an area covered by North County STEM and she had started at the exact same position on their wait list, she would have a seat offer and currently be around 90 on that list. However, she is currently around 20 on the South River STEM wait list. Magnet school admissions process must be balanced to be fair to all county applicants. I believe that the information I've highlighted this morning shows that the system is out of balance in the northern end of the county. I would ask the board to ask the Magnet office to look into this and report back to the board on the issue of geographic balance in the STEM magnet school admissions process. Thank you.
Alina?
Good morning. My name is Eliana Downs Perez, and I am a resident of Lothian, Maryland. And I am here to talk to you all on the subject of the Magnet School Lottery. The current system is a total lottery where students are assigned numbers, and those numbers are randomly assigned to a place in either the list of seat offers or a wait list. While the method of a total lottery gives every student an equal chance of getting in, regardless of their pathway or any special conditions, there is no guarantee that the top students in the county will receive seat offers. As students,
Could you move the microphone to you so we could hear? I'm sorry.
As students, we are told to do our best work on every assignment, be it an essay on George Washington's administration or a simple one-sentence exit ticket in Spanish class. We are told to put our best foot forward and to work hard every day. Those of us who do these things find there is a low threshold to cross to get into the lottery, and beyond that point, everything is up to chance. There is no merit in that. There are a wide range of options for selecting students for magnet programs. We have one extreme, the total randomized lottery with a very low threshold. The other extreme can be found at Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology. The Thomas Jefferson School has a completely merit-based system where students are evaluated based on grades, their score on the school's entrance exam, teacher recommendations, and an essay. The school also has higher standards concerning grades. A student with a GPA less than 3.0 does not qualify. The balance between a total lottery and a total merit system is the best of both. A half-merit, half-lottery system, much like the one Cecil County has begun to use. Students are ranked, and then the top 50 students are offered seats. Some of those students will decline those seats. Those empty seats are then offered to the next top students, and the process continues until all of the merit-based seats are filled. The remaining 50 seats are lottery seats, and the remaining students will be assigned numbers, and those numbers are randomly placed in this list of seat offers or a wait list. The merit portion gives the top students a chance to accept or decline a seat offer, while the lottery portion gives the remaining students the equal opportunity to be selected. The system of selection would be effective because the students can be ranked using data that is easily accessed, including MSA or PARCC scores, county benchmark scores, and grade point average. This data is already in the computer system, so no additional testing would need to be done. I ask the board to ask the Magnet Office to consider the fairness of a total lottery system and consider an alternative system. Some counties have begun to use the partial merit system, and I think Anne Arundel County should as well.
Thank you. Lisa?
Good morning, President Korbalak, Vice President Nally, members of the board, and Dr. Arlotto. My name is Lisa Rodvian, and I am a secondary teacher in Anne Arundel County Public Schools. First, I want to thank you and congratulate you for taking meaningful steps towards the implementation of later school start times. As the educational policy leaders for AACPS, you can be proud that you are taking a step toward not only improving the physical and mental health of our young people, but also taking an important step towards improving academic achievement. Since the topic of today's meeting is the academic achievement gap, I am also here to testify about the substantial impact that those later school start times will have toward closing the academic achievement gap. The 2011 Hamilton Report, commissioned by the Brookings Institute and completed by professors from the University of Michigan and Columbia Business School, conclude that moving later school start times has a 9-to-1 benefit to cost ratio when examining the test score gains and lifetime earnings of students. The report combed through the existing research on school start times. In the 4 years since the report, the evidence favoring later school start times has only grown. My personal experience with the impact of our current unhealthy high school start times on disadvantaged students came when I taught standard level world history at Annapolis High School. My first period class included some of my school's and our county's most at-risk students. My class included students from economically disadvantaged homes, recent refugees, a pregnant young lady, and even one teen father, all attempting to meet the high school graduation requirements. When we talk about the achievement gap, these are the exact students that need our support. From my conversations with these students, I quickly learned that when things at home or in your neighborhood are awry, school can easily become a lower priority. Nonetheless, these students would come to school to try and earn the ever-coveted high school diploma. But that's not to say they would come to school with ease. Many days, as many as 50% of my students were absent. Among the students who did arrive at school, I recall tapping on the desks of many sleepy students. I also learned that when your family has no car, or when your parents' shifts start early in the morning and they leave the house before you wake up, missing the bus means missing school. Many other students have the luxury of a parent or a classmate who can drive them to school if they oversleep, but our most at-risk students usually do not. One of my students told me that oversleeping his alarm and missing his bus meant that the only way to get to school would be to dig into his own part-time job earnings and pay the $20 for a cab ride to school. While the dedication of this student is admirable, most students in his shoes would probably stay at home and lose a day of their education. These students need our help and support, and with school schedules working against their teenage night owl biology, they deserve our help and support. I look forward to the 2016-2017 school year when at last our school schedules support rather than hinder academic achievement for all our students, but especially for our disadvantaged students who will benefit the most from the change. Thank you.
I signed up, but I checked off both agenda and public comment. My name is Deborah Wood. I'm the founding director of Chesapeake Children's Museum in Annapolis, and I also want to echo the importance of starting school later for the disadvantaged students. This optimizes brain function, which should be a priority for a Board of Education. Sleep phases are both light sleep and deep sleep, and they get long. The light sleep phase of dreaming gets longer as the night goes on. so that when you're dreaming, you're processing the information, your thoughts, your emotions from the day before, so that you can retrieve them from storage for the next day's lessons. Optimal sleep also supports the immune system to rid the body of germs so you get sick less often. And we know that the sleep the sleep phases shift at adolescence, so that instead of falling asleep at 8 p.m., it's easier to fall asleep at 11 p.m. and not be ready and refreshed for the next day until 8 a.m. I talked to some high school students about the high school start time and just the achievement gap in general, and they had some really good observations. One was that the magnet programs are not being optimized, because if you can't afford that hour to hour and a half commute, then you can't do it. Or if your parents don't know about it to sign you up. One student told me that she was at Bates Middle School and she saw the Performing and Visual Arts program and wondered what it was, and asked her mother, who didn't know anything about it. So she missed the chance to get in it. The lack of parent involvement was cited as a possible cause or symptom or related problem with the achievement gap. And so the students talked with me about, well, how can we get more parents in the building and or involved in education in general, even if they can't get to the building because of work schedules or lack of a car. And this led to talking about lack of transportation in our areas, especially where low-income families live. Getting to school is a big problem, as Lisa mentioned, if you don't catch that early bus. Getting to work is also a problem. So if we were to find ways to have more employment opportunities and volunteer opportunities that are walkable in the low-income communities, that would provide help for families today, as well as give kids motivation and role models and possible out-of-school opportunities for them that they can see for themselves. That lack of motivation was talked about a lot. They saw other kids at school dropping out or not putting in any effort because they didn't know what it was for. They couldn't relate being in school to any future that they could imagine. Which leads me to the Kids at Hope belief that all children are capable of success, no exceptions, but children need to be able to visualize a future for themselves, both through education and career, home and family. What kind of family life can they visualize for the future? And what are we showing them about different opportunities for family life? Or can they only imagine teenage parenthood, which is what their parents experienced, and so there's really nothing beyond that for them. So we have to mix things up a little bit and make sure that children who don't have advantages, don't have opportunities, don't have transportation, don't have means, can use the public school system to see these opportunities for themselves and often bring those opportunities to where they are, because we have lack of parent participation and lack of involvement. And then that led me to an out-of-the-box thought. To provide a resource center in each community.
Summarize it,
okay, to both help with homework so children can succeed today, and also use those as bus pickup points so that kids can arrive when they can arrive, and then when schools do start later, everybody's already where they need to be to catch that bus.
Thank you. I don't have any other completed cards. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board at this time? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to action items. Item 4.01, election of Board of Education officers for 2015-16 school year. Mrs. Nally?
I would like to nominate Stacy Korbelak as our president for next year.
All those in favor? Motion passes 9-0-0. Mrs. Birch?
I'd like to nominate Patty Nally for vice president.
Second. All those in favor? Motion passes 9-0-0. Thank you all for having us back. We call it the Stacy and Patty Show. Item 4.02, appointment of board counsel. Mrs. Nally.
I move that the board appoint the law firm of Carney, Callahan, Bressler, Bennett, and Scherer as board counsel for 2015-2016.
All those in favor? Motion passes 9-0-0. Item 4.03, filling vacancies on the executive committee of the CAC. Mrs. Nally.
I move that the board appoint the 12 individuals listed to fill the vacancies on the countywide Citizen Advisory Committee.
All those in favor? Motion passes 900. Item 4.04, appointment of school board ethics panel members. Mrs. Nally.
I move that the board appoint school board ethics panel members for a 3-year term from July 1st, 2015 to June 30th, 2018.
All those in favor? Motion passes 900. Item 4.05, Board of Education 2015-16 meeting dates. Mrs. Nally.
I move that the board revise its 2015-16 schedule of meeting dates to reflect the second meeting in June be held on June 22nd, 2016.
Before I call for the vote, I just wanted to say that reason we're doing this is because the county council has until June 15th to adopt their budget, and we were going to have our meeting on the same day, and we decided that wouldn't be very wise. So we'll have an extra week to look at their budget. All those in favor? Motion passes 900. Item 4.06, administrative personnel appointments. Dr. Olato, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend that the personnel listed on the attached sheet be promoted and or appointed.
All those in favor? Motion passes 900. Item 4.07, personnel. Dr. Olato, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend that the personnel listed on the attached sheet be promoted and or appointed. That's right.
Second.
Excuse me.
I just wanted to say I have to abstain from this vote. My son will be a teacher at Annapolis High School this fall. So all those in favor? Motion passes 801. Our next items are policy revisions. These are information items only. Item 4.08 is a first reading for medical benefits retirees code GAO. We have a brief presentation.
Yes. For the record, my name is Jessica Cutchis, Policy and Legislative Counsel. The Division of Human Resources brings policy GAO, retiree healthcare benefits, to you for first reading. This policy was last updated October 2nd, 1996, and the regulation was last revised September 15th, 2002. The policy and its accompanying regulation provide updated definitions and information regarding retiree health care. The policy will be posted on our website for 30 days for public comment, and we welcome any questions you have regarding this policy and regulation.
Mrs. Ritchie.
I just have a question. Do you, in my job, I have to, for 5 years, I have to belong to the same health care for 5 years before I'm allowed to take it into retirement. Do we have anything like that here where you have to belong for a certain period of time before you can, to stop people from joining like at the last minute to?
Employees can change plans during open enrollment.
Right.
So there's no requirement that you have to be in a certain plan for X amount of time. You just have to be participating and make changes during open enrollment. So that's available.
And I have to belong to it in order for me to retire with it. So I can't, and if I'm 3 years from retirement, I can't change my health care plan at work. And so I just wondered if we had something like that. All right, thanks.
Mrs. Nally?
Well, I read this because I am a retiree, and I really wanted to make sure, and I've read it numbers of times. What, in your opinion, is the major difference? And is there something that retirees in there, I've read it and I can't really see, is there something that retirees are losing that they currently have from this new policy, or is this more a rewriting to meet regulations?
This is more of an update to the policy and rewriting it. There's no change at all here, nor contemplated, to retiree health care benefits. It's just updating the language to the new format and inserting some definitions that were perhaps missing. Also making sure that there's some clarity about people's retirement from the retirement agency. They have to qualify for retirement from the retirement agency before they can retire from us, right?
But that's not new.
No, right. And so there's some clarity around that because there was the word vested in Anne Arundel County, and you're vested in the retirement agency, not in Anne Arundel County. So there's no change here to anything that's being proposed with regard to current retiree healthcare benefits.
So if I know I've received some calls from retirees from the Retired Teachers Association. So if they have questions as they look over this, they can certainly post that. There are opportunities to make comments and to seek clarity in case they do look at something. And it's because it is, you read it and you think, well, it's not any different, but then
Absolutely. And we're happy to entertain any questions or comments. In fact, prior to this meeting, I spoke with Barry Fader, who's president of the Retired Teachers Association, and they have a group meeting here tomorrow, and he's asked me to come and speak with them.
Oh, good.
So I'm happy to do that to, answer any questions for them.
Great. Thank you.
And for the record, this policy has been shared with all the retiree groups that we have emailed that have like an organization. They did see this prior to this reading.
Is there any public comment on this item? Okay, so this will now go on the website for 30 days. Item 4.09 is an information item, policy GAI, workdays, inclement weather.
The Chief Operating Officer, the Division of Human Resources, and the Communications Office bring policy GAI, workdays, inclement weather to you for first reading. This policy was last updated October 2nd, 1996. The policy and its accompanying regulation describe our current guidance and instructions regarding the operation of schools, central office, and support offices during periods of inclement weather. The policy will be posted on our website for 30 days for public comment, and we will answer any questions you have at this time.
I don't have any board questions. Is there any public comment or questions? Okay, we'll put that up on the internet. Item 4.10, policy GBA, executive staff, first reading.
The Office of the Superintendent brings policy GBA executive team to you for first reading. This updated policy combines two related policies, executive staff and superintendent's council, which were last updated September 4th, 1996 and November 20th, 1989, respectively. The policy describes the need and purpose for the superintendent's executive team. It will be posted along with the others for 30 days for public comment on our website, and we will answer any questions you have, or I will answer any questions you have about that at this time. We.
I don't have any board questions. Is there any public comment on this item? Okay, so 3 up on the web for 30 days.
Yes.
The next 3 policies are second readings. Item 4.11, information item, policy JL, student services. And we had no public comment.
No.
Is there any board questions about this? Any public comment? Okay, so this will come back for third reading
In August.
4.12, information item, policy GCA, non-certificated support staff. And this is also a second reading with no public comments posted. Are there any board questions or comments? Any public comment? All right, that'll be back in August.
Yes.
And item 4.13 is policy GBF, recommendation for appointment of teachers and administrators. Second reading, there were no public comments on that from the web either. Any board questions or comments? Any public comment? Okay, we'll see you in August.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is 4.14, new course approvals. This is an information to action item. Do I have a motion to move this from information to action?
Second.
All those in favor? We now have an action item. Dr. Arlato, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend the approval of these courses beginning with the 2015-2016 school year.
Do I have a motion? All those, or any board comments? Any public comment? Mrs. Birch.
I want to take these classes.
The Lego League?
They all look like so much fun. Can I?
You want to come forward and enroll Miss Burge?
I feel like I should at least sit up here and smile and say thank you. And offer
Mrs.
any
Hummer.
clarifications.
Well, I can say as my son is at Monarch and he took a similar, the Beyond the Book, and it was his favorite class.
That was the one that really
It's
got
the book
me.
club. You get to have book club at school,
Yes.
and it was such a hit, and they loved it. And so all of these are wonderful, extra enrichment type things that combine meeting the standards, and I think they're fabulous. And I want to take book club in middle school as well.
Thank you.
All right, all those in favor? Motion passes 900. The next items on the agenda are review items. Item 5.01, elevating all students, eliminating all gaps, a year of progress and changes. And we have a presentation.
Good morning. I am Anthony Olson, the Executive Director of the Office of Equity and Accelerated Student Achievement. I would like to take a minute to let the others at the table with me introduce themselves.
Mikhail Emanuel, representing First Book serving Anne Arundel County.
Kathy Lane, Executive Director of Alternative Education.
Kelly Thomas, Principal at North Glen Elementary.
Maureen McMahon, Deputy Superintendent, Academics and Strategic Initiatives.
Thank you. A year ago, our office embarked on a journey to create a new web of support for schools and further assist them through a more integrated process in closing gaps, achievement, discipline, and opportunity throughout our school system. Many believe the gap is just about numbers, and this fall we will share with you an in-depth report of that data. But as you know, every data point is attached to a student, our students. Today, we would like to share with you what we have done to grow our teachers, to grow our students every day in every one of our schools. Two key words have formed the foundation for our change: integrate and support. The effort has not been ours alone. We want to take our time today to highlight for you the ways in which we have moved forward together. Our partners in the offices of school performance, curriculum and instruction, advanced studies and programs, student support services, professional growth and development, school and family partnerships, food services, and the Office of Partnerships, Development, and Marketing have been crucial in these efforts. And you're going to hear about some of these efforts this morning. Together, we have sought to change the culture, bringing about new leadership opportunities, and equipping teachers with tools to lead their students to maximize their potential. Let's be clear. We're not where we want to be, yet. And it is that concept of yet, based on the tenets of growth mindset, that our students were not born with a fixed set of skills, talents, and intelligence. We have challenged every administrator to challenge every teacher to create a Room 203. Room 203 symbolizes a place where every student feels that they are accepted, respected, and supported by their teachers and peers, where they feel valued as individuals, and where teachers inspire students to recognize and maximize their unique potential within the classroom and beyond. It's not that our students can't do or learn something, it's that they haven't been able to do it yet. One small word, one big shift in mindset and performance. We will get our students to learn and do what they need to do by creating the right mindset and the right instructional programs led by the right people. In addition to our efforts to have the right mindset, right people, and right instructional programs in our schools, we know we must also create the right collaborative culture with our parents and our community. Mikhail Emanuel, the co-chair of the OCR Advisory Group and a passionate advocate for early childhood education, will share his thoughts and speak about the work that we have done together.
First, let me say thank you for the opportunity to be part of this presentation. Most of you know that I've been actively involved in efforts to eliminate the achievement gap in Anne Arundel County for at least the last 8 years. First, as Education Committee Chair for the Anne Arundel County NAACP, then as Chairman of First Book Anne Arundel County, and currently as Co-Chair of the OCR Advisory Committee. I have always believed in holding Anne Arundel County Public Schools accountable, as well as praising its hard work and successes wherever appropriate. Anyone with an interest in the discussion around limiting the achievement gap in Anne Arundel County would be relieved if the achievement gap no longer existed. While closing the achievement gap remains an elusive goal, I am confident we are building the framework that will achieve the goals of the OCR agreement. Over the last year, I have seen a renewed energy as well as new approaches and ideas that leave me optimistic about the future, specifically the Enhancing Elementary Excellence, or EEE initiative, the new K-1 curriculum, and the new partnership between Anne Arundel County Public Schools and Team First Book serving Anne Arundel County, which includes the support of the Junior League of Annapolis. The OCR agreement is a partnership with the community, and it calls on all of us to play a part in the elimination of disparities. Mr. Alston and his office have consistently reached out to stakeholders. In an effort to be inclusive, they have also built new bridges within the community, which I believe will go a long way in establishing new momentum. Even though there's a lot of work left to be done, I and many others remain committed to continue to help in that work, and we remain excited about continuing this journey together. In closing, I encourage everyone within the sound of my voice to become familiar with the new K-1 curriculum if you are not already. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Emanuel, for your support. And yes, we are excited about our new K-1 curriculum. The system-wide focus on our youngest students has the potential to engage, excite, and motivate our early learners at the start of their educational journey. When seeking to elevate all students and eliminate all gaps, the beginning of a student's journey is the perfect place to start. When the classroom door opens this fall, our youngest learners will be greeted by their teachers with a mission launch. They will be off on an exciting daily mission, contextualized in science and social studies topics and activities, grounded in literacy, reading, writing, and speaking, rich with the integration of arts, music, and physical education, and of course, time for quality mathematics learning, all threaded together and linked to each day's mission, question, and challenge. But there's more. For the first time, we have an additional 2 parts to the school day for these youngsters. A time for structured play, where we will focus on student-to-student talk, how to take turns, how to treat one another and speak to one another with respect, all while students engage in learning how to play games and how to play and interact positively with one another. We've also woven health and wellness into their day in a time we call Move, 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 where our teachers use physical movement as a learning strategy linked to the mission topic of the day. Children are not built to sit still. So Move, Move, Move will get them up and moving. From the mission launch each morning to the mission debrief at the close of each day, our students will be the center of their own learning. Each day will be exciting and engaging, and with our growth mindset in focus for all children, we will look for academic, social, and emotional growth while the children are on their daily learning lessons and on their daily learning missions. For example, we have woven the administration of the Fontes and Pinnell Reading Assessment, we know it as F&P, into our curriculum. So the teachers not only teach reading, but they also assess routinely. And then they use those outcomes to make better decisions about their teaching on a student-by-student basis. All student classroom supports will be tailored to fit the students' unique strengths and their needs. While we await the onset of the use of this new K-1 curriculum this fall, we can also look forward to expanding our EEE program, Enhancing Elementary Excellence, that Mr. Manuel spoke of. We're going to expand that to the Meade and Southern elementary schools this year. As you know, we began this K-5 program in our North County cluster this past year, and thus far we have seen high levels of student engagement in student-centered, project-based classrooms where the real world is brought to life through authentic, team-oriented challenges. And I'm sure Ms. Talmas will be speaking about that soon. All of our kindergarten through 5th grade students in the 10 North County cluster elementary schools engage in 1 hour of EEE thematic learning each week. STEM and society, arts and humanities, world languages and cultures, and global studies. There are EEE themes. While students joyfully engage in EEE real-world learning and real-world problem solving, their teachers are also then given an additional hour per week for collaborative planning. Planning that will ready them to better address the educational needs of their students. With our EEE program, we're moving forward to close achievement gaps through the innovative work with both our teachers and students, as Mr. Olson suggested. As you can see, we're very proud of the work we're doing with our elementary students this year. But let me also take a moment to tell you some of the exciting news at the secondary level as well. As you know, our AVID program, Advancement via Individual Determination, is a program in which we see students, all students, excelling. AVID students from the academic middle enrolled in the AVID elective at our middle and high schools are accessing rigorous coursework, developing independence and college readiness skills, and moving on to achieve and persevere at the college level. We see success. Uniquely this past year, 3 of our current secondary schools, Corcoran Middle, Glen Burnie High, and Meade High, they have begun to move to AVID school-wide. AVID school-wide is much more than the students completing Cornell notes in every class and learning study skills. It is when teachers in a building are moving all students towards independence with college and career readiness skills. School-wide AVID reflects systemic changes in attitude. A strong AVID system transforms the leadership, the systems, the instruction, and the culture of a school, ensuring college readiness for all students. For all students. When AVID goes school-wide, it moves beyond being a targeted intervention for a few and becomes a philosophy and a process that infiltrates every classroom at the school. All students can become college and career ready. When a school goes AVID school-wide, all administrators, all teachers, counselors, they are all trained to address low student achievement, establish challenging and achievable goals, provide access, equity, and support for all students in the rigorous of curricula, implement meaningful school structures, shape college and career-ready cultures, and create coherence in the responsibilities and roles of students, staff, administrators, and parents. At our 3 school-wide AVID sites, all students are being supported academically, socially, and emotionally on their journey to college and beyond. In a very short time, they will join the rank of this year's AVID seniors who earned more than $23.8 million in scholarship and grant money. That's up over 100% from last year. Our AVID program has helped us to close opportunity and achievement gaps for AVID students in our schools for years now. But now at a few of our schools, our secondary schools that we named, AVID school-wide will assist us to increase student success for all students enrolled at those schools. That's exciting. Kathy Lane will now tell a little bit more of our AACPS success story.
Thank you, Dr. McMahon. 4 years ago, my son and I were playing basketball in our driveway when a young boy that was unfamiliar to us walked down the sidewalk with the basketball under his arm. And he stood at the foot of our driveway watching us until we, of course, invited him to join us and play. Trevelyan started showing up at our stoop every day about that same time, and sometimes he'd be shooting around with my son when I got home from work. My son wasn't around. He'd sit on my stoop waiting for me to get home. Soon after, we were inviting him in for drinks and snacks, and then he became a regular member of our dinner table throughout the rest of the summer. At the end of the summer, my son noticed that Trevelyan hadn't come around anymore, and he wondered why he had disappeared as quickly as he had appeared. It became clear to me that these sudden moves were not an unfamiliar experience for Trevelyan, however. Shortly thereafter, I was visiting my Alternative 1 teacher at North County High School when Mr. Laser was called into a classroom to support a student who was disrupting the class. The teacher met us in a hallway and clearly frustrated with the student's disruptive and disrespectful behavior in his algebra class. "Get him out of there," was the pleading look the teacher was asking Mr. Laser. Mr. Laser entered the classroom and asked the disruptive student to step out into the hallway for a moment. As he exited the classroom, Trevelyan was as surprised as I was to see him come around the corner. While the programs that Dr. McMahon highlights are amazing and engaging and designed to create 21st century learners, if students like Trevelyan are not in the class, they miss these critical opportunities. Intent on keeping our kids in our classrooms feeling safe, supported, and engaged, our system embraced PBIS 10 years ago. For the first 5 years, we focused on Tier 1 prevention supports, building positive school climates with clear expectations for students and increasing recognition of these positive choices by our school staff. Together, we established this positive climate across our school system and then set out to develop Tier 2 supports for students, for the 15% of students who require targeted interventions to make positive choices. For example, Trevelyan participated in Check-In, Check-Out, Alternative 1, and most recently, with the support of the Office of Equity and Accelerated Student Achievement, Restorative Practices. Together, these supports, in conjunction with evening high school, twilight school, summer school, all of which Trevelyan attended, and other alternative programs, we enable 95% of our students to be in class and access the amazing programs now offered in Anne Arundel County Public Schools. We continue our efforts today by enhancing our Tier 3 supports, including counseling through our expanded school-based mental health initiative and community conferencing. Over the past 5 years, we have seen reductions in referrals of all students in our PBIS secondary schools decrease by 70%. 75% for African American students. Similarly, we've seen 53% sustained decreases in suspensions for all students and 54% for African American students. This work has not been easy, but for the tireless leadership of Dr. Virginia Dolan, Coordinator of Behavior Interventions and Supports, and the integrated network of supports nurtured by the Office of Equity and Accelerated Student Achievement, schools are strengthening their multi-tiered systems of support. These outcomes are not so much about decreased referrals and suspension as they are about creating equitable access to our inspiring instructional environments and increased opportunities to engage students in meaningful 21st century learning environments, which enable students like Trevelyan to graduate and pursue their passions in post-secondary opportunities. And I'm proud to say that Trevelyan graduated in 4 years from North County High School and plans to attend Florida Southern College in the fall. Thank you.
Good morning. I've worked in Anne Arundel County Public Schools for 11 years and just completed my first year as principal at North Glen Elementary School. I can tell you without a doubt that the support system that you've heard about this morning from offices and departments throughout our school system have made a huge difference at my school. It's been my experience that students at a young age start sorting themselves. Smart, dumb, jock, non-athlete, musician or tone deaf, teacher's pet, problem child. Once adhered, these labels are hard to peel off. When I came to North Glen Elementary, all I could see was potential in the faces of these students, my students. As I greeted students on the first day of school and made my way from room to room during breakfast, students started introducing themselves to me and letting me know their labels. One third grade student introduced himself to me. Hello, my name's Kyron, and I'm not good at reading. I spent a lot of time last year with the last principal, so I guess I'll see you a lot this year. To this, I assured the student that I always make time for students doing the right things. With a smile and a squeeze, I told him that we all learn in our own ways, in our own time, and I was sure that if he worked hard this year, he would grow as a reader. To do all this good, hard work of teaching, it is imperative that we in the schoolhouse possess the appropriate mindset. Through professional development focused on creating positive school culture, the Equity team took our staff on an inspirational journey this year. Self-reflection, growth mindset, the universal truths of learning, and the power of yet became the cornerstones from which we built. As a member of my leadership team, my equity liaison would provide support as we would craft professional development around concepts shared at the equity liaison meetings with school improvement goals and initiatives. A chicken or the egg relationship was created as we shared and coached teachers on the impact that a growth mindset coupled with quality, rigorous, relevant instruction would have on students. Through building meaningful relationships with students and focusing on the process, the grit, the perseverance, and the hard work instead of just the product, the being smart, we saw a shift at North Glen. Not only did we see students succeeding, but we also began to see layers of labels begin to peel away and a new level of confidence in our students. One warm afternoon, while outside dismissing students in June, I looked up to see Kyron bouncing over to me with an ear-to-ear grin. Guess what, Mrs. Thomas? Kyron proceeded to tell me how he had went from an FNP level L, which was below reading level at the beginning of the year, to a level Q, which was advanced on his latest reading screening. Throughout the year, Kyron also went from being a below level to an advanced level math student. As we celebrated this growth, I leaned down and asked Kyron why he had thought he had grown so much this year. He shared that he had worked really hard, and since Miss Vanderbeck, his teacher, never gave up, neither did he. As Dr. Arlato always says, time and time again, it's all about the people. Through our work this year, we have focused on building strong relationships with our students, and because we know that no significant learning occurs without a significant relationship, to ensure all of our students, especially our youngest learners, have this significant relationship, we are excited to pilot the Senior to Senior Core that will position senior citizens and high school students to serve as mentors and academic supports to elementary students. We have a lot of work to do, but I can tell you the change and progress I've seen this year have left me enthusiastic and excited for what's to come. Through continuing our work with growth mindset, providing opportunities to grow through initiatives such as EEE program and STEM in Society, and helping students build more strong relationships with mentors through the Senior to Senior Core, the sky's the limit for the students at North Glen Elementary.
Again, we're not where we want to be yet. We are, however, in a better place as a school system than we were a year ago. Through our partnerships and the work we have done with each school's principal, leadership team, and equity liaison, I believe our children and our employees are benefiting from a stronger web of support with regards to closing the achievement gap than we have ever had. Our Unlocking Our Potential conference on August 13th will bring over 500 teachers and administrators from all across our county to learn from national experts and school-based practitioners to set the stage for the 2015-2016 school year. Several years ago, this board went to the county council and our General Assembly delegation and talked passionately about changing the conversation with regard to the perception of our school system. I tell you today that we are changing the conversation, as well as the outcome for our children. There is much more work to be done and many more challenges to be met. We are committed to continuing to strengthen that web of support for our children because ultimately they are the ones that really matter. We'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have for us.
Thank you. Mrs. Ritchie.
Since we're starting to tell stories, I'm going to need a box of Kleenex. So I'm just saying, because I know that was our idea, but now it's coming back now to get me. So, but it really does make a difference when you do hear the stories about the students, because it really puts it's hard to ignore when it's an individual, and it's hard to ignore when there's a name associated and with that. So, kudos on that part. And I'll get the tissues. But I wanted to say a couple things. One, this was a hard road to go through. The changing and the directions change is always difficult. But I think that you all have done an admirable job, because what I'm seeing here is some implementations that are really going to get to the root of it. We're not where we need to be. And the fact of the matter is we can't get there overnight, and it will take us years. I mean, let's be honest about it. It's going to take a while, because we've got to get those paces into place. When you talk about the K1 and talking about helping kids to understand about sharing and learning about how to cooperate with one another, that's just another level of pieces that may be missing that we're able to fill in as part of the normal part of learning. And so therefore, when they move forward, they can do those things. PBIS, I've been a strong proponent of PBIS forever, and I've constantly talked about the fact that you need to make sure that the parent piece is in there, because it's one thing to teach children at school how to do this and to be positive learners, but to be able to carry that into the home environment and help people to understand how to do that, through their kids need discipline. But this is a way to help them to learn how to do discipline in a way that's supportive of children and not just punitive. And so I'm wonderful about that. AVID, off the chart with AVID. I just love AVID. I think that's an excellent program, and to see these 3 schools going to school-wide AVID programs, again, another tool that will help students to feel surrounded by support. And that's the only way I can really kind of put it, is they are surrounded by the support so that they can do the hard work of being a good student and advancing and moving forward. And I'm so very pleased with our school system to see where we are now in terms of really addressing the very beginning part of schools. We've got some really great things in place, and now to be able to put that really strong foundation to make good learners is going to be crucial in getting that done. And I thank you all for the hard work that you've done, and I thank your office for the hard work that they continue to do. And it's not easy, but I think you all have done a great job.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Mrs. Birch.
I just want to say, this board last year said, we didn't feel that we were doing enough to eliminate gaps, and we directed the superintendent to do more. And we felt like the community relations were in a very good place, but the school supports were what needed to be augmented. And I just feel like what you all have been able to do in a year, even building on the community supports that were there and doing so much for the schools in just this time, it's far beyond what I imagined could have been done in a year. I mean, it's beyond what I think we expected to happen. I mean, we knew it needed to be better, and thank you so much for all the work and effort that has been put into this, because we as a group said, we're not doing enough. We're not meeting the needs of our kids, and we need a different direction. And again, this is just beyond my wildest dreams of what we could have been doing for our kids. And so thank you all so much for working so hard together for our kids.
Mr. Webb.
As you said, we're not there yet, but this is a great start. We need this type of spark to really get things going. And I've just got a couple of questions. I mean, there's so much more that I want to learn about what you're doing. How many schools have you been able to reach out and touch so far?
So we have an equity liaison in every school. We meet with them 4 times a year. So we are in every school. This year, as a team, we met with every single first-year principal, and you approved them, so there were a lot of first-year principals. We also, on the early dismissal days, for report cards, since principals are not able to work with their teachers, meaning that's a teacher work day, we host a principals academy. We're able to bring all of our principals in, and this is an optional meeting, support them with growth mindset and to support with building the culture in their building. Tomorrow we're having a first-year principal retreat. We're again bringing our first-year principals together to reflect and provide additional ways to build the capacity of their teachers, develop the culture within their building. So we also attend every leveled principals meeting. So that's 3 a month, 1 for elementary, 1 for middle, and 1 for high school, to support them with that as well, and to continue the work that we've been doing with our equity liaisons to share that with our principals. We also go and support all of the first-year principals, second-year principals, first-year APs, second-year APs, and experienced APs through their regular meetings that they have through the Office of Professional Growth and Development.
And also, looking at my notes here.
That's fine.
The schools you mentioned, Cochran Middle, Glen Burnie High, and Meade High, for school-wide AVID, is there a particular reason why those 3 were chosen?
We're looking at places where we can actually address the needs of students who, many of whom traditionally may have fallen through that crack of college readiness, and they may have been thinking about a career prior to college. And what we want to do is make sure all of our students at these schools are college ready, but also believe in their minds that they can go out into the world of work or go out into the world academics and be successful. So at those 3 schools, we feel like we can build model programs there with strong avid bases to really propel students forward.
You mentioned a senior to senior program. What's that all about?
So starting this fall, North Glen Elementary School is going to pilot a senior to senior core. And so right now we're reaching out in the community, and we're also reaching out and collaborating with North County High School to create mentorships for all of our K1 and 2 students starting next year. So we're still meeting with, organizing with Julie Carras, the principal at North County High School, but we're excited to build another layer of that meaningful relationship with our students.
And Ms. Thomas has agreed to be the pilot school, and the idea is to, and it's wonderful, I appreciate that. The idea is that we would put mentors, another adult who cares in the lives of the young students, and in many cases focus on literacy. But if all goes well, this will be linked with EEE and move out to the schools on a purposeful but appropriate timeline.
Fantastic. Well, good luck on your initiatives, and if there's anything else that we as a board can do, please don't hesitate to ask.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Can I add one thing? Actually, I just want to mention, so, you know, most of you all are aware that I've worked with the school system in many capacities over the years. And recently, probably in the last year, I've worked closely with Anthony in a lot of different ways, and I've learned more. And I think part of it was learning, everyone's perspective. And so it depends on where you sit, of course, what your perspective is, and then what level of your involvement. So, it's the angle of your perspective as well as your level of involvement. But I've learned a lot, and I think that's what it took for me, was being more involved and really learning a lot more. I've worked with you and talked with many of you over the years, and so one thing I would like to do, though, if I could take off my first book hat and put on my OCR Advisory Committee hat, and I just want to mention, and I know you all are so busy, when you go out to schools, something that you can do that would really make a difference, if you talk about what board members can do, and this may even include, I know Dr. Arlotto does this a lot, and I know many members of his executive team do this a lot when you go to schools. This just occurred to me today. I made a note of it, as I think it was Dr. McMahon was talking. I forget who was talking, but I made a note of it because I was talking to Dr. Ashworth earlier today when I came in, and Jackie also, we were sitting and talking, and something occurred to me as this all came together. And it is that my wife works for the school system, as some of you all know. Something that someone did from the central office made a big difference in a positive way for her. And it was simply the acknowledgement of her in front of the leadership of her school. And she said the leadership, wasn't very welcoming to her and wasn't very warm to her. But then when people from the central office came there and recognized her by name, they saw her, they recognized her, and they spoke to her and they hugged her, they changed the way they treated her. So I think you all can set a positive example. If you visit schools, learn the names of some of the black people in the school, the leadership, the principal, the assistant principals, the teachers, behavior specialists, learn their names and seek them out. And the way you treat them will set an example for the way other people in the school treat them. I'd just like to mention that. Thank you.
Mr. Frank.
Thank you for coming. Can you hear me now? I think that's a little better. Excuse me. You used an interesting word, perspective, which is basically where I'm coming from, since this is only my second school board meeting. But help me if you could. There's been an agreement many years ago with the Federal Office of Civil Rights and this school system. How long ago was that agreement?
The agreement was written in 2005.
2005.
With a 2-year time frame to it. So it ended in 2007. Although the agreement has ended, we as a system have not ended the work.
Again, my background is engineering. I'm a numbers guy. I need to hear some numbers. I don't know where we were. I don't know where we are. I don't know where we're going. Could you give me some numbers? There is an achievement gap. What is that gap today?
So as we shared in the fall, we'll be giving all of the numbers for you.
Could you give me some perspective now so the public can know why you're here today?
Absolutely. So as we look at the numbers that we have in regards to our strategic plan indicator, all of our data is not in. So if you look at indicator 2, which is MSA,
What
which
can
is
you
what
tell me today so the public will know what the achievement gap is today?
We had the presentation last October we can get you a copy of as well, but I think it's already up on the web and board docs.
Yes.
Dr. Frank, the bottom line is we've got a gap in many, many areas, whether it's discipline or AP, whether it's reading at the elementary level or math at the middle school level. We have a gap that still exists. In October, as Mr. Alston said, when we have all of the data, because much of it comes in over the course of the summer, AP scores, SAT scores, those kinds of things, we compile it and we present each October to the board and to the public, and we'll share absolutely the numbers. You'll see all the numbers you'd like. But the bottom line is we have a gap that exists. And that's what this work of these fabulous people of this team is doing, of our partners. Ms. Alsup is here, and she continues to commit herself in the community. Mr. Manuel's continued to work very diligently, not only in First Book, but with the OCR advisory and working closely with Anthony. I think they're in contact almost daily. You guys are talking about one thing or another. You've been out and joined us for some of our professional development with the K-1 curriculum. We appreciate you being there. So the gap exists in many, many areas. We're going to present the data. I don't believe Anthony's prepared to present any hard numbers to you today. That's not what we prepared for. This was about the programs and the people and how we're going to get to the numbers. The numbers you'll see in October.
Do we have any time frame for telling the public what the gap is and closing the gap?
I'm not sure that I understand the question in light of what I just said earlier, Dr. Frank. We're glad to share the data.
I want to go back to there was a federal agreement with the Office of Civil Rights many years ago. And as a member of the public, as a member of the school board, I don't know what progress we've made, and I don't know what progress we're intending to make. And I'd like to know what that is, and I'd like the public to know what that is as soon as possible.
Sure. And we have, since that agreement was signed, and for every year since then, that data has been presented to the board and to the public. We presented the data here to various boards since 2005, and the public has participated in that. We've presented it to the county council on several occasions at their invitation. We'll sometimes go to council chambers at one of their evening meetings and present the data with regard to the gap, and the community, the OCR advisory, has sat at the table, and they've had conversations likewise with the county council. So the data is no mystery. That data has been presented since that agreement was signed in 2005 each year.
I look forward to seeing it in our Capital newspaper. Thank you.
Can I just add something quickly? Dr. Frank, I can tell you that as a member of the community and as someone who has sat in on nearly monthly meetings with the superintendent as well as his executive leadership team every month for the last 8 years, the gap isn't where we would want it to be. Ideally, there would be no gap. But there is a gap, and the important thing today for me, and I can only speak for myself on this, is that the processes, the programs, the supports that have been put in place that Dr. McMahon has talked about, the K-1 Curriculum Triply Initiative, the things that Dr. Arlotto and his team have worked on, are very promising. And so I think we're in the best place we could be today. I'm very excited. I wouldn't be sitting here today if I didn't believe in what the school system has been doing. It's only been a year since Mr. Alston has been in place. But the work that has gone on is very exciting to me. As the co-chair of the OCR Advisory Committee, I can tell you that nothing more could possibly have been done in the last year than what has been done. So I'm very satisfied with where things stand, and I'm sure we can have a public forum at some point to discuss it further and vet other points of view. But I can tell you that I'm very excited about where we are today.
Mrs. Hummer.
I'm excited to hear all the programs and the supports in the schools. I do have a couple of questions just for clarification. Going back to the AVID programs, how is that being implemented school-wide? Is every student having an AVID class, or is it just across the curriculum?
So it's across the curriculum. The teachers have been trained on how to do Cornell notes, how to do study skills, how to do time management pieces, and so all teachers infuse it throughout their normal operation within the classroom. However, there is also the opportunity to take an AVID elective.
So there's still the AVID elective along with everything else. Is there a plan to expand that to other schools school-wide?
Well, what we're doing is really watching. We're looking and watching, and Dr. Arlato was able to, for the first time ever in the history of AVID, have the AVID group, the organization, actually offer professional development in Anne Arundel County Public Schools. And so we were able to take advantage of allowing many, many staff that would traditionally have had to have flown to Atlanta for training to have training here. So this is a new venture for us. We're going to take it slow to go fast, but we're really going to look and see what do we see the students coming out with. So the notion is perhaps, if it makes sense, we might be coming back to you, but not right away.
Okay. How do you identify, I know you're involved in every school, but how do you identify your target, the schools that need the most target at this time?
So it's a multi-tier approach. So looking at the schools that we're supporting through our executive oversight committee, where we've identified 14 schools that cause us the greatest concern at elementary, middle, and high school, looking at some of our Title I and our AAA schools. Also looking at what initiatives our regional assistant superintendents have in place and how we can support that. So we look at different points. This year we really thought it was important that we start with, put a large emphasis with our first year principals, because it's setting the stage. And getting with them as they entered. Like I said, we met with each of them and walking alongside of them to support them through the journey. And we will continue that for this year as well.
And the Fontes and Pinnell program, is every student in elementary school being tested, being evaluated with Fontes and Pinnell?
So currently in kindergarten through second grade, all students have been evaluated last year. This year we're looking to expand that to a K-5 model, especially for our students that we know are struggling with reading. So you get an idea of where they are exactly on their reading level. It also allows the teachers an opportunity to understand what causes the difficulty with reading. So there is that miscue analysis. They can see what is the difficulty in regards to the reading, the comprehension, as well as the word identification.
And at what points in the year is that given? I would assume at the beginning.
So it's administered 3 times a year as a full assessment. However, throughout the year, there's progress monitoring that goes on where the full assessment isn't given, but a shorter version is given so the teachers are aware of the current reading levels of their students opposed to just fall, winter, and spring.
Thank you.
Mrs. Nally?
Well, many of my fellow board members already asked the questions, but I can remember you sitting there when you were appointed, and I've known you a long time, followed your career, always been impressed. But I am telling you, I'm here today to say bravo. I can't believe the progress in 1 year. I knew you were going to make progress. I had no doubt about what you were going to do. I knew you had a focus. But the idea, and I've spoken many principals and many teachers, they look at you and your team as partners, as working together. When you come into the schools, it is just. It's just been remarkable to me, the change in the dynamics and what your office has done. I just sincerely want to thank you very much for all that you've done, and I'm impressed, and I just can't wait till your next report. I know it's going to get better and better. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, Mrs. Nally.
I also want to say that your presentation inspired me. You reminded me of some books I need to put on my summer reading list, like Growth Mindset. You make me really want to be back in my classroom in 7 weeks. I'm very excited about that. But I also wanted to thank Mr. Manuel for being here. I know I often say it's easy to be an armchair quarterback, and you said it better today, that once you've had a chance to work with folks and understand the workings behind everything, your perspective changes, and I really applaud you for taking the time to be a part of this. And I would like to know a little bit more about the, was it first book? Yeah, tell me a little bit about First Book.
Yeah, First Book, Serving Anne Arundel County. So First Book is a national organization started in 1992 by an attorney. She was teaching or reading to students, children in soup kitchens in D.C. and homeless shelters on her lunch hour. And she learned that they didn't have books. So she left her law firm and started First Book. And so in 92, they donated 17,000 books in the D.C. area. As of January 2015, they've donated over 125 million books nationwide. So I heard when I became the education chair for Anne Arundel County in 2007, I wanted to start a reading program, heard about First Book, started First Book Anne Arundel County in August of 2008. Since then, we've donated almost 500,000 books within Anne Arundel County. So these books are totally free to children, brand new books, totally free to children from economically disadvantaged homes. And so we just distribute books is the goal. We've partnered with the Junior League of Annapolis. They have a great program, as you all know, for anyone that knows about Junior League of Annapolis. They do incredible work, great organization. So we have a 3-year program we just started with Junior League of Annapolis to revitalize our efforts with First Book serving Anne Arundel County. And we're just going to continue to make progress in affecting early literacy is the goal. So I thank you all for your support. And I have learned a lot. You know, in working closely with Anthony, I've learned, you know, as an elementary school principal, I've learned a lot from him. I've talked to other principals for a long time about issues, and I didn't understand them as well as when I talked to him as an elementary school principal. He helped me understand more, even about pre-K, you know, how pre-K works, what you know, the categories of students, category 1, 2, and 3, how the slots are used, all the details behind that. So I've learned a lot in the last year. And it's just made me more excited about working with Anthony, working with his office, working with the school system, and really making a difference. You know, again, we've been writing grants. The Harpole Sproul Foundation has been a big supporter of First Book over the years. And so we can write a grant of, and if we get a grant of, say, $10,000, that could literally turn into tens of thousands of books, because when you donate to First Book, you become a recipient group, and as such, your recipient group becomes eligible for free books. And so even though you might go on the First Book Marketplace website and purchase books at anywhere from 20 to 90% discounts, these are great Dr. Seuss board books, just incredible books. But also publishers donate books. And so Random House, Scholastic, you know, all the top publishers in the country get books. They have orders for books. They print books so that on the second printing their margins are higher. So in the overprinting of the second set of books, they actually end up donating those to First Book free. So First Book gives them away if you'll drive a truck to where they're giving them away. It could be anywhere from, we've been, you know, locally here, all over the Anne Arundel County, Linthicum, Jessup, we've driven as far north as North Brunswick, New Jersey. Not New Brunswick, New Jersey, but North Brunswick, New Jersey. I learned the difference, and they give them out, you know, all over. Yeah, they're a big difference, and so especially when you're driving a big 16-foot truck, but then, you know, they give them out all over the country, and California, all over the country, and so those books are free if you'll drive to pick them up. They're completely free, and so but if you don't drive to pick them up, they'll ship them to you at 45 cents per book. Shipping charge is all you're charged. So that's where you could take a small grant even and get literally thousands of great new books. That's how the program works.
So we've created, with partnership with First Books, we've worked with Little Free Libraries. So we've partnered with Chesapeake Science Point as well as Phoenix Academy, and they're building Little Free Libraries. We've also partnered with the Housing Authority and Head Start to place the Little Free Libraries. And so we have 2 STEM interns, and they're creating an app for us. We're able to label the books according to F&P levels. So the books will be in the community for those who don't have access to the public library. So they can literally go to the Little Free Library and take a book. And if the book doesn't come back, that's okay. It's one more book in their library.
That's great. Mrs. Ritchie?
Just to follow, I wonder, do you do some stuff with pediatricians and things in terms of making sure that the books are available, or that the pediatricians know about that as well? Because I know that's a big problem in Baltimore City.
We've donated books to the People's Clinic, I think it is, on Forest Drive, English and Spanish books. But we've gone, there's another clinic in Brooklyn Park we've donated to. So we go wherever people request books. And so, you know, First Book has such a great relationship with publishers that they actually had one of the first books created that included both English and Spanish in the same book. And the nice thing about it was that it was on the same line. So, you know, like, Are You My Mother was in English and Spanish. And so an American child wanted to learn Spanish, they could read it in English and then read it in Spanish, and vice versa. So a Spanish child could read it in Spanish and then read it in English. But yeah, we'll go wherever there's a need or a request, absolutely.
Well, I mean, that's just one of those places where you can really reach people at the very beginning when it's important to start, because sometimes people don't understand, you know, when you're reading. this is real personal because now I have a grandchild, and so, you know, when we're sitting there trying to read the books that she has no interest in, you know, but we still continue to read, and because we understand how important that is. So, but some people just don't understand that, and so being able to go to where they're going to be is real important to be able to get those books. And I think that's fabulous with the Spanish and English because it helps not only the child, but the person who's also reading the books to the child. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, great.
Sure.
I don't have any more board questions or comments, but I have one card from Deborah Wood. Or anyone else who would like to come up? She must have left. Okay. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is a review item, item 5.02, the construction status report. I know we don't have a presentation. Do we have any board questions or comments on this? Mrs. Hummer?
I just have a clarification. As I'm looking through it, what's the difference between a modernization of a school and a revitalization? Is that a big loaded question?
No. For the record, Lisa Seaman Crawford, Director of Facilities. A revitalization is more of a modernization light. For example, if the educational specification, the program for the school required 1,000 square feet for a room, and we already had an existing room that was 900, we would not expand the room to meet the educational specification. If there were not bathrooms, individual bathrooms in classrooms, and they had group bathrooms, we would leave them as is. So it's just really a lighter version of the modernization, which in modernization, all of the rooms would meet the educational specifications.
I just had a comment. I noticed all of the subdivisions that have been reviewed this past quarter, and I love that people want to move and live in Anne Arundel County, but we're looking at just even Meade High School's projected increase from these subdivisions going up another like 78 people, that we're approaching high schools now with 2,400 students. So I'm very anxious to see our MGT study. It's just incredible, the growth and the subdivisions that have been approved just in one quarter.
Yes.
Mrs. Birch.
Yeah, I actually have a question along those lines. The one subdivision, which isn't too far from me either, which has come up many times in the past here, is Two Rivers that I have a question about. So Two Rivers is now in the list and apparently approved. Is that correct? Two Rivers, it's in sketch?
Yes, this is Larry Alberts. I'm the supervisor of planning, design, and construction. That was approved just recently. Some of it is age restricted and some of it is not.
Okay, but what is not age restricted would give us this number of new students.
Correct.
Okay, and those schools are all open at this moment.
Yes.
So even though we might have room for 10 students at Crofton Elementary, because of the way our adequate public facilities law is written, if we have room for 10, they can build houses that would give us 228 students.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to point that out to everyone, that that's the way our law works. And the developers of that development did offer to build us a school a couple years ago, and people didn't want us to build their school. But anyway, okay, so we could be getting 228 new elementary school students in Crofton.
Over time, yes.
Yes, over a few years. Yes. Okay. And how much room do we have at Crofton Elementary once that addition is completed?
I think it was about you got your book there? I think it was about 100 seats ultimately we had in there.
Okay.
I don't have it would be in the master plan, but I don't have it
Okay.
right in front of me.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, what Mrs. Spurge is referring to that the public might not have in front of them is the Two Rivers community is projected to have 228 students at Crofton Elementary, 113 new students at Crofton Middle, and 139 new students at Arundel High once the project's complete. Do we have any public comment on this item? Okay, thank you. The next item is 5.03, award of contracts. This is also a review item. Do I have any board questions or comments? Any public comment? Okay. Then the last items on our agenda are consent items. Item 6.01 through 6.10, award of contracts. These are information to action items. Do I have a motion to bundle these and move them from information to action?
Second.
All those in favor? We now have an action item. Dr. Arlato, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend that the Board of Education award contracts as listed on today's agenda, 6.01 through 6.10 inclusive.
With any board questions or comments? Any public comment? All those in favor? Motion passes 900. That ends this portion of our meeting. Just a couple of housekeeping items. The next Board of Education meeting is Wednesday, August 19th at 10 a.m. And just before that, the Board of Education will conduct a board retreat on Saturday, August 15th at Annapolis Elementary School starting at 9:30 a.m. Mrs. Nally.
I move that we close the meeting to consult with, to go into closed session, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on a legal matter, and to conduct collective bargaining negotiations or consider matters that relate to negotiations.
All those in favor? All right, this portion of the meeting is adjourned. We're now in closed session.